right, Wildcast. We're here with Nick Brazel. Nick runs our pipe yard and our CNC group here in the Odessa facility, and looking forward to bringing some of Nick's story to you guys and letting him share exactly how he's gotten that business to where it is. And it's one of our more remarkable lines of business. So Nick, thanks for your time today.
Yes, sir. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. So Nick, let's start with kind of where you were born and raised.
I was born and raised in Hobart, Oklahoma, a little farming community, southwestern Oklahoma. You either farmed or you were in the oil field.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how we got along this path.
You did both, I bet.
I did both.
Yeah.
Did both.
You like one over the other?
Farming I thought was less stressful.
Yeah, well, it probably is.
People probably want to wring my neck on that one, but
Yeah.
from an outsider's perspective, I guess.
Dan Hofferth might have something else to say about that. He
Yeah.
came from a family of farmers.
Oh, we've had many discussions about that.
I would imagine so. When you were growing up, what did you want to be?
You know, my dad was roughneck tool pusher for 30-something years. He did that all growing up, and that always fascinated me. The oil business always did. The farming thing was a given because that's family legacy. But my dad struck out and went to the oil field, and I was always fascinated by it.
What were there specific aspects of it that fascinated you, or just overall the industry was something that you found interesting?
I got from an early. It was a camaraderie. Because back in those days, Dad was a driller. This was after the crash in the early '80s, and he always had to have extended cab truck or something like that because the drillers at that point, they picked up their whole crews and just went to the rig.
Right.
And even on their days off, they still stayed in touch and stuff like that. I thought, that's pretty neat.
They were a true team.
They were a true team,
and they were in a lot of ways closer than they were to their own relatives.
They were, those were tough times back in those days. I remember the rig would go down, Dad get moved to another rig or whatever, then he'd catch a drilling job, all with the same company, obviously. But then just he had his network, and if he had to put a crew together, and up to jump in a truck with him, and he's just going around town, hitting up his old buddies, who's going to make this team, and it was for some reason that always stuck with me is. The camaraderie there was pretty neat.
And that's something that is truly, I believe, separates the oil and gas industry from a lot of others, is that there is this brotherhood, and a lot of it's because if you've been in it long enough, we've all faced the exact same struggles. We've all been laid off. We've all had to deal with uncertainty in the industry. We've all had to deal with great times. We've all had to deal with not so great times, and I think that creates an individual or a type of individual with the ability to just be present and last, and find creative solutions to things. And we'll get into some of those in a little bit that you've delivered out of that pipe yard, and it's been really, really fun to watch. But what was your first? How did you break out into the oil field?
Oh, my dad had been working international most of my teens, and he came across the deal. They were building a rig in Houston to go to Gabon, Africa, I believe. And this happened. I was actually driving tractor, plowing, and we got the wheat in. My dad called and said, "Tell you what, you're gonna come spend the summer with me down in Houston," because they were getting that rig ready to go over there. So I started. I was 16, working for a company called Rig Star, which was they were assisting with the welders, stuff like that, to get that rig going. And I ran their parts warehouse. And after that, I've never had a job outside of oil and gas. So
that was from 16.
Yeah, 16.
And your birthday was yesterday. And how old did you turn?
45.
You're old, dude.
Yeah, I've been there, done that.
Old, man. Wait till you're 48.
Right.
That's brutal. So you spend that summer working with your dad, get a taste of the oil and gas industry, and you're like, man, this is where it's at. This is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And then what'd you do after that?
Obviously graduate high school. Then I graduated high school, and 2 days later, I was working floors on the drilling rig.
Where at?
South Texas. King Ranch, we're Rexon.
Oh, wow. Well, that's tough duty down there.
Yeah. Oil-based mud, 110 degrees, no big deal.
Yeah.
Right?
No humidity, though. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, almost all humidity.
And, I did that. Obviously went to college, graduated A&M Corpus Christi. Always roughnecked in the summers. That was the thing. Because I could roughneck in the summer with oil and gas, and just work straight through and then come out. I was better off than most students were.
Oh, I would imagine so. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a good time, and there was never a question. Even when I graduated, they would always ask, I always thought it was a stupid question, what are you going to do next? I'm going right back to oil and gas.
Yeah, sure.
And I just remember my dad telling me, this was, graduated in '02, that's when the Barnett was going, it's about the time natural gas crashed. And my dad, I said, Dad, I think I'm going to change my major in engineering. He goes, I'm not paying for it. I said, why is that? Dad? He goes, Nick, when this thing goes, engineers are going to be a dime a dozen. He said, why don't you just stick with business, because we both know you're going to be a sales guy. So graduated college. Like I said, the plan was to go back. I was going to go back to the rigs, because the guys are graduating, getting jobs. Friends of mine graduated semester before me, something like that. They're going out starting, and I got a great job making X amount of dollars. I'm sort of thinking in my head, going, I can do that in half a year,
right?
And the work's not that bad, guys. So did that. Actually went to work for National Oil out of college. With them 3.5 years. Worked on their supply side. That was.
And you're in the Houston area at this point?
No, I'm in Corpus Christi.
You're still down in Corpus?
Yeah. Was down there, and went to work on their supply side. I was about 3.5 years. That was really educational for me. I knew that my exposure had always been on the drilling side, so I got to learn a lot more emphasis on that, the intricacies of small parts and stuff like that I didn't know before, but also got to learn a little bit on the production side. I didn't know what an RTJ flange was until they show over there, because they use them on production, obviously not on a drilling rig, and so I was exposed to that, and then. I was there about 3.5 years. Like I said, if I ever hired sales guys, I would always hire supply salesmen, because those guys, you have to scrap and know a little bit about everything. And 3.5 years later, Cameron came a-calling. Blow-up preventers. Okay, well, going to the supply side, coming to my blow-up preventers. Now I just got one product line. This is freaking great.
Right.
Right? Was at Cameron, started in Corpus Christi. I was there. They moved me to Oklahoma City, kind of back home. I was there, and then obviously we were purchased by Slimmer J. That's what got me down to Cypress, and did 11.5 years with them, and that's where I had met Aaron. I actually met Vicente's dad first, because we had purchased KB Industries out here when I was Cameron, and Vicente worked over there.
Right, that's his background.
Yeah,
GOPs.
yeah. And so I got to know him, and he always said, "You've got to meet my son." And me and Aaron got hooked up. What year was that? I have to think about that one. But it was still St. Andrews Royalties. It wasn't even Wildcat yet.
Yeah.
And sold him his first 4 BOPs and accumulators to get started. And I always thought
Aaron his first 4 BOPs?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, so most of his BOPs.
Sure.
And so it's like when it was St. Andrews, one thing, the unique thing about Wildcat is I always felt I was part of that Wildcat team, because Aaron would call, and it was kind of part of that growth. I need this, let's budget for this, let's do this. So I knew the intricacies of Wildcat before I even came to work for Wildcat.
When you talk about what drew you to the oil and gas industry, that camaraderie, we have it in spades here. Like, it's ridiculous, the true family atmosphere, and lots of companies talk about that, and they say that, they promote that type of culture. That culture really does exist here.
Yes, it does.
And it's we've got a lot of really high functioning individuals that do a lot of things really well, and can do a lot of things outside of what their core competency might be really well. And at the end of the day, the things that they don't do well are complemented by another person on the team with no hesitation. And it's really a remarkable place. So I did not know that you'd sold the first 4 accumulator systems and BOPs that Wildcat purchased. I had no idea you'd sold those to Aaron. That's a cool part of the story.
Yeah. Yeah, I always felt I was part of, the whole Wildcat growth story. I was talking to Aaron every week or so, and then that's how, obviously me and Aaron cutting these deals, obviously got to meet Gina.
Oh yeah, obviously. Yeah. Gina's gonna want to know what that's about. Yeah, for sure.
So it was great, so I knew And I knew a lot of the team at Wildcat. So obviously things go. Cameron gets purchased by Slumber J. I leave there. Aaron calls me up and goes, "What do you know about pipe?" It's kind of those fake it till you make it kind of deals. So I said, "Aaron, I know enough just to get me in trouble."
My experience with Aaron, and I've known him and worked for him for around 20 years now. And when he asks what you know about something, he is not curious about your knowledge level. He's wanting you to do something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he asks you what you know about pipe. You're like, "Well, I've seen some."
Yeah, I've seen some. I've worked with some. And he goes, "Well, here's what I'm thinking." And he threw an idea at me. And that's another good thing about the oil and gas industry. I started calling my network immediately.
Sure.
And I knew guys that were in pipe. Really, at that point, didn't have no interest what they did, but I did now. But I knew the guys. And so I started calling. So I started calling my network. And they're like, "Oh, yeah, you can do this." And, Aaron had some ideas. And I went back to Aaron, and thank God he was receptive about it. I said, "You're thinking this, but after talking to my network, I'm thinking this." And he was malleable to it. He's like.
So what was Aaron's original thought, and then what did it ultimately morph into based on your feedback?
Well, Aaron, that's kind of hard to always think what he's thinking.
It is.
But I thought, from what I got from him, I think it was tubing, because he was so exposed to the production
Sure.
and the rental side at that time. I came from the drilling side, so he had yin and yang going here. And, after discussions, we found something to meet right there in the middle.
Right.
I think obviously my idea took over.
So you're saying you beat him?
Sir?
You're saying you beat Aaron?
Oh, I didn't beat Aaron. No.
You can say it, we'll cut it out if you behave. But no, and that's how you hope things come to be, especially in a business setting. There's so many times you see leaders of a business say, "I want this going this direction," and they have a tough time seeing something that's just adjacent to that. And I can say again, that's not what I've ever experienced working for Aaron when we worked at Neighbors together or here. So that's great. So he pitches an idea to you. "Hey, what do you know about pipe?" You guys kind of formulate an idea. What happens next?
Oh, well, they had to change their construction plans out there after I got my idea going. So I come on, and at that point, I'm sitting here. Okay, so construction's almost finished. We're ready to go live. And then I'm sitting here as this clock is ticking. I'm going, "Okay, what do I do now?"
Construction on the pipe yard.
Construction on a pipe yard. It's almost complete. We're ready to turn the lights on and go. And I'm sitting there going, "Oh, we're getting close. What am I going to figure out?" There's no pipe in that yard, obviously, at that time. And I had, I keep going back to relationships. I'm always, because that's the best thing about this industry. One thing unique about me with National Well and also with Cameron, always had the same customer base. Always did. Whether it be Oklahoma or Houston or South Texas or wherever. And so some of my customers that we have now were really instrumental in formulating this whole thing. I called and said, "Guys, it's go time." And then I called one of my really good customers. I'm going to name him on camera. They'd kill me. And it was just like, "Okay, let's do this." We wanted... Because when Aaron brought this up, I'm kind of backtracking here a little bit. So I started asking my customer base, I said, where in the pipe game would this fit? And they helped formulate that, because I heard it from 2 or 3 of my customers. There's really not a pipe yard in West Texas that caters to the drilling contractor. As far as inventory management, stuff like that. And, that's one of their, most valuable assets is their drill pipe.
Sure. On
a drilling rig. I mean, they always say, most expensive thing of drilling rigs is a drill pipe. They said, we really want a pipe yard. We would like to have a pipe yard that caters to the drilling contractors. Because the rest of them, they're chasing operators and doing things. We do that, obviously, but, our niche is this. And it's by default, because that's what I do. Sure. I didn't know operators, I knew contractors.
Sure.
And so getting that feedback from them, and y'all could call them up and say, "I'm thinking this." They go, "Oh, no, dumbass. this is what you need to be doing.
Sure.
And okay, make me understand that.
Sure.
And so, I mean, they were good, and I could, my network and then my customers would call up, and I'm just constantly getting feedback of how we're gonna open doors, how we're gonna flourish, how we're gonna do this, and it was always me getting feedback or advice from someone, and that's what it turned into today. And I mean, I was talking to one of the CEOs of my customers yesterday. He goes, "Hey, have you thought about this?" And so it's always been just this constant getting feedback, and then also, getting that feedback, but also acting on that feedback.
Right.
And that's the unique thing about Wildcat, because I could call Aaron, Tripp, Don, whoever, here's what I'm thinking. And, they're pretty much a Wildcat. It's like, well, if you think it's a good idea, you roll with it. We're with you.
Absolutely. And, one of the things that Tripp mentioned when I was talking with him about some stuff was that what he really enjoys about Wildcat is that our culture has fostered a spirit of entrepreneurship between all of us and management, and we're really pretty much left alone to run our business, whatever that is, internally, and make decisions in a way that we feel like is best for the business, and truly run it like it's our own. And I know you've been given that opportunity with the pipe yard. When you went out, what was the first sort of line of business you were going to do? Was it just inspection? Was it holding inventory for people? What was the original, like, this is our first sort of, here's what we're going to do for our customer?
Machining.
Machining?
Yeah, I mean, machining was, because due to my background in camera and stuff like that, machining was something I think I was more comfortable with.
Yeah.
I could talk that language a little bit better.
And so the original concept when you went to the customer was, send your pipe here, we'll redress it, we'll do different things for it. We have the CNC machines, all of that. And they were like, that's awesome. Can you also?
Yeah. Yeah, can you expect it? And then it came in, why don't you just, can you just manage our inventory for West Texas? Because, it's unique out here. There's companies that are here, but they're not from here.
Right.
And so they're really reliant on their vendors to take care of their business out here. And so we had a big enough yard, so that was kind of the deal. So tell you what, we'll handle all facets of your drill pipe. We'll do the inspection, we'll do the inventory, we'll do the machining. We'll make sure everything's sorted, good, ready to go. And we've just carried that concept over the years, and we're grateful that there's so many companies that actually trust us to manage. That amount of their inventory.
Sure, and it lends a lot of credibility to the information you're hearing from your network, that there's no company out there to take care of the drilling contractor as much. They're all chasing the operators, which again, like you said, we definitely would help them too. But having that feedback from your network had to be invaluable in terms of really being able to establish a foothold with drilling contractors and grow that business like it's grown.
Yeah.
So you mentioned all of the things that we're doing now. How soon after the doors opened were we in all of those other areas?
Wasn't long. Because this was back in what, 15, 16. We were coming out of that little slow period. There were rigs getting reactivated, and rigs coming up, rigs going down. One thing about a pipe yard is you like turmoil in the industry. You like rigs going up, you like rigs going down. That just means dollar signs for pipe yard doing that. So we were in a period of growth when we started this thing. So it was kind of easy to do. People were still moving rigs from Oklahoma. I think East Texas was still slow at that time, so rigs were coming from there over here, and then getting them activated and stuff like that. So you really I learned there how inspection and machining went hand in hand. Yeah, you're gonna have this piece, but I'll tell you what, if you take the whole pie, it's even sweeter.
Sure.
And so I had to learn that, and one thing when we built that team back there. And I think it's Steve Jobs. Hire smart people so they can tell you what to do. That's what we did back there. We hired some of the best machinists. We hired some of the better inspectors, because I wanted them to tell me what to do. Mm-hmm. And all those guys are actually still there. So it was a lot of learning. So a lot of time, you know, I'm formulating, I'm building this team. At the same time, I'm hiring people that know way more about this business than I do. And, you know, and to me, that was a big deal. And I would meet with them every day, you know, where I'd be asking questions. Well, why do we do it this way? Well, why not this way? Well, like, this is why, Nick. Okay,
Right.
Great. But I mean, I'm learning from this. And I mean, like I said, those guys are still back there, and they're still teaching me stuff every day that I didn't know. And that's what we continue to do, is hire those specialized people that know all that stuff. And just, you know, I still have a meeting with the staff, you know, once a week. You tell me what to do. And for that dynamic, it's worked well for us.
Sure. And I mean, can't argue with the results. I mean, we've got fantastic results. And so the business grows quickly from we'll do some redress, some CNC stuff, to, man, we already have this pipe here. Let's add these other components and just go from, you know, beginning to end with this process with the customer. So now that's in place. And then here comes COVID, and you've got to be like, okay, let's figure out how we deal with this. And you came up with a very creative solution that, and I'm not just saying that because internally I work for Wildcat. I've had customers of ours refer to that solution as not only hugely beneficial to their business, but also brilliant in positioning Wildcat well when things did come out of the COVID lockdowns and all of those things. Go into kind of what you did and start with what you felt like when all of that was going on, and when you came to realization, we've got to get creative with this or we're going to just go away.
Yeah, as you know, it happened so fast.
Sure.
First, it was concern from buddies that are still on the rigs. Well, no shit. You know, and I basically, to be honest with you, the first thought was going, how many of my buddies can I hire here? Because we knew it. So it come, you know, on standard IADC contract, drilling contractor picks the person who inspects the pipe and everything on the end of a contract or when the rig gets back. Yeah, we went from having 3 or 4 rigs in the yard to over 40 in a matter of a couple of weeks.
Because they were getting stacked out.
Because they were getting stacked. Yeah, we were at capacity as far as we were finding new and creative ways to store pipe. We knew it was coming, and it happened so fast. And at that point, you're taking in the work, and you're, you know, everybody's, you know, oh, that was great, it's great. No. You had so much stress there. Okay, how do you, one, manage expectations? And 2, it was sad because I was actually working with the drilling contractors. We were picking what rig's pipe to do first based on if they thought that operator was going to go under. And this is, you know, 2-3 conference calls a week going, okay, let's move slot 3 up to 1 because what we're hearing on the street, let's move this one up to make sure that, you know, you get paid, I get paid kind of thing.
Right.
So yeah, and it was like, okay, let's bring this pipe in.
Those are not fun conversations.
They're not fun, but it was a collaboration there between our customers and, you know, managing our workflow based on what they want to do. So I mean, every week, that's where Microsoft Teams came out. Brilliant time for that to come out. So we're sharing spreadsheets.
Yeah, sure. So, but think about that though. Not only are you having those conversations, which aren't fun to have. Your customer doesn't want to be having those conversations, but the fact that you're able to have those conversations and be as candid as you are, saying based on what you're telling me, we're going to move you down in the inspection cycle, and then receive that well, that only speaks to the level of trust they had in you and the organization you're running back there, and that goes back to that whole relationship thing. If you don't ever establish that and get it a foothold there, nothing you say is going to be received well, probably in that setting.
Right. And, you know, oh man, so we had, like I said, we ended up with 40-something rigs with a pipe and the whole deal. I knew it. We get the pipe in, we inspect, repair it. We don't know how long this COVID stuff's going to go. But I knew I get the inspection, repairs, store it for free, guys. Don't worry about that. You've got other stuff to worry about. This is one thing you don't have to worry about. I've got this, guys. But I knew maybe this COVID cycle ends in 6 months. Maybe it's a year. Maybe it's a year and a half. We're here for the long haul. Okay. But once this pipe goes back out, new operator picks up that rig, well, it's going to have to get another fresh inspection again. So we're pretty much doubling up there.
Sure.
So, I mean, it was a gamble. And, Wildcat's management, nobody batted an eye. All right, Nick.
Right.
Hey, whatever you're doing, you just rock on, brother.
Keep doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, there was no ask why. Why are we doing this? There was none of that going, hey, rock on, do your thing. You seem to know what you're doing. So.
Sure. So you've got the pipe stored back there. Things start popping back off, and just like you predicted, here comes the other side of that work. But now, as in all things, when things start going, it's not we're going to gradually get back to work. It's all go.
Yeah.
And so then what do you do to manage that sort of urgency? And again, those same concerns of if you don't get paid, I don't get paid, exist even when things are going back to work. How do you manage that urgency and also those shortened timelines to ensure that you're maximizing profitability for your business, but also able to service your customers in a way that keeps them satisfied?
Well, one thing about COVID and with that work, during COVID, we were one of the only businesses, we didn't lay anybody off. We actually hired people. We were busy. And so, I mean, even to this day, I could say Cactus 156, whatever, Rig 156. I could, having that same team and that same stability, I could say, hey, Callie, hey, when you look at 156's pipe from, oh, yeah, when you look at it, it's going to go to work here in 2 weeks. Oh, yeah, well, we still need to go look at this, and this. So it's having that level of stability and having the same people. When we came out of it, these guys already had a detailed memory stuff of what we were talking about there.
Yeah, they had that historical
knowledge.
knowledge.
They knew it.
And so there wasn't a learning curve trying to get them up to speed on, hey, 156, this is the sort of medical chart of 156. You just said, hey, 156, and they knew exactly what was going on.
Exactly.
And so having that sort of stability in your workforce, what do you attribute that to? Because I can promise you other organizations out here doing the same thing you are experiencing turnover at levels you're not. And Wildcat is that way as a company. We don't have a tremendous amount of turnover. What do you attribute that to for your specific side of the business, keeping that team together? How do you think that's achieved?
I think it's overall culture at Wildcat. I mean, our COO comes back there and go roll pipe with you if he just, so be it.
Sure.
The support. I mean, we can talk benefits and financial and a lot of good stuff, but I think it's just back to the culture. This is a fun place to work. They don't mess with you, and a lot of inspectors and machinists. I mean, they've got numbers in their head. They're introverts, and they're like, don't mess with me, don't mess with you, kind of thing. And just a collaboration. I think in the way Wildcat management is, I mean, our CEO still does it. He'll call some of my guys, ask for their opinion on something. I'm asking their opinion on something. And it really makes it where they know their opinion matters. I mean, it's not they think their opinion matters. No, they know their opinion matters. And it's just the culture we've kind of fostered here, man. It's a complete team effort. I mean, it sounds cliche, but that's kind of what it is.
It really is. And so, very quickly, what lines of business specifically do you run out of the pipe yard and CNC group? We have field inspection, we have in-house inspection, BHA, obviously machining, new manufacturer subs, new subs, hard banding, straightening. I mean, we kind of run the whole gauntlet as far as drill pipe services goes. Sure. Now, you mentioned field testing and remote testing. That's something that we've added in, it's been about a year now, huh? That we got
last October.
So not quite a year, 8 months. Tell me how that came about and what exactly that means in terms of a solution for our customers.
Oh God, I did not want to get into that business, but it was listening to what the market is telling you. The business side of me was like, no, this is already a crowded market, because the cost of entry into that is minimal. It is. Anybody can do it. I mean, you could go buy a coil and have Nick and Justin's inspection service tomorrow.
Why'd you get top billing?
Oh, okay. Well, sorry.
Alphabetically.
Overstreet and Brazil. But the cost
we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Don't go to it.
But the cost, but it was a very crowded space. But through my drilling contractor connections, ultimately I started building relationships with their operator customers. And why don't you do this? Why don't And then finally, a guy said, "No, y'all, you need to do this. Yeah. We'll give you the work. You just do this. Y'all seem to handle yourselves well with the in-house inspection and machine shop. Y'all have to add this." And at some point, you go, "It's the Walmart theory. If you're not growing, you're dying, right?" And so I was like, "Okay, this is the most next logical step. Even though you're not comfortable with doing it, you have to do it." And it's not to go Wildcat. So I called Trip and Don and go, "All right, boys, here's what we're doing." They're like, took very little reasoning. "Okay, fine with me. Let's go. Rock on." So we bought it and got it here to West Texas, set for 2 days, and then went on a job in Oklahoma.
It's a good thing we brought it here.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I just remember when that first began being a discussion. We do our management reviews quarterly, and I would always ask, in the management review part of it, we ask for identified risks to the business and identified opportunities to the business. And I remember the first time you brought it up, there was a real sense of like, I'm hearing this, the space is crowded, but potential opportunity. Then the next time we did it, still hearing this, you were reluctant, but also I think there might be something there. And then eventually it just sort of became like, we need to do this. And we did. And after, like you said, it went out really quickly and it's been out. And so how has that part of the business been? And what are some things that was anything there that you didn't anticipate being a challenge spinning that up? And how'd you overcome that?
Ooh.
Got
him. I was actually surprised by the logistics of stuff when you're doing something like that on short notice. 'Cause, I mean, they call you and say, "Be here at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning," and you've got loaders and hotel rooms and pipe racks and everything else that you've got to get. So it's like I thought that business before I got into it, going, anybody can do this, And then you actually get into it and you figure out the logistics of the stuff. Going, man, you better be on your shit, man, because they're going to eat you alive.
Right, but once you figure out the logistics, I would imagine it's fairly cookie cutter, site to site. You got to have the same stuff every time.
Yeah.
And so once you figure out that system, just run it.
Yeah, but you take that, but it's like anything else with pipe. If you got this, well, then that gives you the entry for this, and this. So it's okay. Just you bought a mobile EMI units. What do you do now? It's refacing. There's 100 connections out there. Well, you've got to you figure out what's in the market. Most dual shoulder connections that are out there now. Well, you got to go buy all that refacing gear too. So it's just not this, but you got to get this. Now you got to get this and this. Okay, now you got that. You got to have this, and this. So it's just I think with anything with pipe, it's like the multiplier effect. You step in one thing, well then that makes you get 2 more things you got to do.
Right, and if you don't do those things, it could be a hindrance to the business.
It can, and I think my whole deal when we started this thing, I wanted this business to be all inclusive. Mm-hmm. Don't want to farm out anything, or say I don't offer this within reason, obviously. But Wildcat, they said, I'll talk to Don, talk to Trip, whoever. Here's what I'm doing today, boys. And okay, rock on.
Right.
It's like, there was the whys, but I guess coming from big Fortune 500 companies, stuff like that, you always had to do your justifications and became very cumbersome, which you can relate to. And then
that cumbersome nature breeds indecision, and it breeds don't want to decide on it because I don't want to go through all of the steps to do it. It's just a pain in the ass.
Right.
When things are working fine, that maybe work a little better, but gosh, the headache of doing that, I'm just not going to push it. Where here, what you're describing, that flat nature of being able to have that discussion and really almost in real time, like I need to do this, fine, go do that. Oh, also, why are you doing that? Okay, that makes sense, carry on. That helps our business and ultimately helps our customers.
It does. I think a Wildcat, I've never been told no. Now, I may have had to rethink the way I approached it, but I mean, it was always done. I mean, coming from the big publicly traded companies like that, you know, I think bigger companies like that doesn't breed innovation. It doesn't. Nobody wants to step out there. Yeah, Wildcat here, you know, I've come up with some pretty dumb shit over the years.
No, not you.
But you know, but it's like, you know, you talk to managers like a rock on, brother. You know.
Well,
and you can come up with these ideas, and some of the best ideas we've come up with have come from our people. You know, and they feel completely comfortable in doing so. Why don't we try? Let's try it this way because I think this would be better. I'm like, yes. But so you take what I'm talking about, what the upper management does. It's that whole trickle down effect. That I mean, even our yard guys in the yard, they don't hesitate for a minute to come to anybody and bring up an idea or a question. And I mean, it is that whole trickle down effect. And that, you know, it's cliche, blah, 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 but it actually, that's what makes us better and sets us apart because nobody's afraid to speak their mind.
No, and it's always received positively. It doesn't mean that it's received and done all of the time, but it's always received with if you can't do that, it's still like, hey man, thanks for bringing that up, but here's why we're not going to do that right now or whatever. And I've been in business a long time too. Don't experience that a lot of places. So shifting gears a little bit, since you mentioned your people, what sets your people apart back in your pipe yard, your organization back there, pipe yard CNC, from Bob's pipe yard down the road? What do you think separates your people from them?
I think the managers we've hired there are, I'm trying to do the best with it, they're always learning. I mean, our inspection manager, he's already got 4 or 5 classes lined up he's going to go do just to continue on honing his craft, so to speak.
Right, and he's not been doing it 2 years. He's been doing it a long time.
He's been doing it a long time,
Yeah.
but he's always finding some new class he wants to do. Like the other day, I think he's got some metallurgy class he wants to go to, but he's just always wanting to learn something else. And us, it's like, yeah, I mean, even Trip, we had a couple guys want to get their level 3 certification. And I said, well, I need a AFE this, or how are we doing this? He goes, when it comes to education, you don't even ask, dude. Just do it.
Sure. It makes you better.
Yeah. But I mean, it's that top down, bottom up. Because Trip was like, why are you even asking, man?
Because I always had to.
Yeah. He's like, over here, do it.
Yeah, because
we got airfare. You got to go here. He goes, I don't care.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes our people better, and again, helps us serve our customers better. And ultimately, you know, when you go back there, because you know, I'm out here less frequently than you are, obviously. But even when I go back there, it's a very welcoming place. No one ever bats an eye at you. They're welcoming you there, happy to see you. It's just a really, really strong, familiar, truly family environment. And if someone asked me that, that's what I'd say would separate all the people at Wildcat. But you know, specifically your team from, you know, Bob's Pipe Yard down the road is that, you know, we genuinely care for each other. We genuinely want to see each other succeed. And I tell people all the time, it's not that we don't have individual egos or individual pride. All of us do. It's that we somehow at Wildcat have been able to say, my ego doesn't supersede the company or helping Nick be successful or helping Justin be successful or any of that. And it, to your point, goes all the way through the organization down to the guy that's running a lathe. So it's really, really great to see. So what's next for the pipe yard?
Oh, we got a few ideas we're kicking around now. You go back to the one-stop shop. There's a couple of small things. I think now at the point it's probably expansion. God, I want to go to Oklahoma so bad. Business sense says no, but God, I'd love to go back home. But I think that's where we're at. I mean, I think we're more of the quality, not quantity. I think we're comfortable where we're at now, and I think we've got the right team, obviously. I'd like to see some natural gas prices come up, and I think another area would be good. I mean, we've toyed with Oklahoma, we've toyed with South Texas a couple of times. We're comfortable with what we got here, so yeah, I'd like to take that to another market somewhere.
And it's good that you say you want to take it to another market, because the word comfort a lot of times can lead to complacency.
Correct.
And you don't want that.
No.
And so what are you doing to guard yourself against, we got a great business, things are going great. We could do this for the next 30 years, no problem. That would be a complacency problem. What are you doing? How are you managing that in yourself and with your team, that we don't, hey guys, this is good right now, let's don't get complacent with this?
I'm too competitive. That'll never happen. If I see a competitor's truck, or I hear they're out of something I thought should be mine, that pisses me off. Yeah. And then you have to go back and look in the mirror, ask why. Okay? That's what keeps you coming back every day, is continue to ask yourself why.
Whenever I ask that question in the mirror, I always hate the answer I get back. It's generally me. But that spirit that you're talking about, and I had someone ask me this just recently, actually, about the name Wildcat, where that comes from. And they were outside of the oil and gas industry. And I said, well, do you know what a wildcatter is? And they said no. And when I explained to them, it's someone with, just the riskiest move there is, hoping it pays off. That's truly the spirit in the company. And it's not recklessly risky, but it's risky. And like you said, I think the market's saturated with mobile field tests. I'm hearing this, let's go. And that sort of burden of risk is shared across the company, because everybody's like, sure, go ahead. But you also know in that sure, go ahead is, shit better work. Yeah. And that puts it back on you and your team to ensure that it does, and then ultimately you to enable your team to be successful. So you've done a fantastic job of that, and being able to sit down like this for a period of time and chat about kind of where you came from, how you got here, learn about how you're structuring that business, and looking to stay relevant and to grow the business, move the business if that makes sense to do or not. But it's about that evaluation, and I just appreciate you doing that, and it's going to be awesome to bring this out to everyone and let everyone kind of hear what goes on here at Wildcat.
Yeah. That'd be good for people to see how this machine works.
Yeah, absolutely. So appreciate your time, Nick, and when you start expanding, we'll do it again.
Sounds great, buddy.
Let everybody know where we're going.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
All right.